Craft beer fights mediocrity. I mean, it's what it's all about. It's about creativity. It's about drinkable art, if it were. It's a chance for people to express themselves in a way that makes other people feel great. I mean, beer is the social lubricant of the world, so it's one of the most consumed beverages in the world. So having an outlet to be able to make that the best possible version of itself and to explore new possibilities is critical.
You know, prior to about 2005, it was domestic beer and imported beer. Craft beer wasn't really a thing yet. And, you know, craft beer could be domestic or imported. But somehow a movement happened and craft carved out its own, you know, identity, right? You know, if you take a really close look at history, you'll realize that, you know, we've been making beer for 5,000 years. That's a lot of generations of people. And it's been nothing more than recipe being passed down from me to you, to your kids, to their kids, to their kids, and on from there. No different, right, than bread, right? Same set of ingredients, but different formats.
A very good brewer has to have years of behavioral experience. It's not something that you can just pick up and start doing. For example, David Jones, our brewer, he's got probably over 20 years experience brewing. We just brought on a gentleman that you know, has 7 years of brewing experience. It's you know, it's a process-driven position, and it's not something that you can easily master. Again, it takes years.
Brewed my own batch many years ago. Actually, started out as a home brewer forever ago, and made a batch of beer, and it was awful. And if it wasn't for the fact that my neighbors enjoyed free beer, it probably would have been undrinkable. But that didn't deter me, and I went on to make many fine batches since. Most brewers are actually hidden back in the far corners of a brewery behind closed doors, and as much as that can be a relaxing and enjoyable experience, it's really fun here because they get to engage with customers, they get to ask questions about how their beer is made. Most people just assume that beer just exists somehow. They don't realize how much work goes into every step of it, how much pre-planning has to happen. It is it's very much interesting for me to be able to engage with people and educate them on beer.
It's actually a pretty simple process, or you can make it as complicated as you want it. But it is primarily extracting sugars from barley malt and creating a mash, which is similar to mixing oatmeal. So if you can do that, you can mash in. And then having the equipment and gear to separate that liquid from the grain, and having a vessel to boil it. And once you separate that sweet sugary liquid from the mash and start your boil, and that's when you can add hops and other things to whatever the recipe pertains or whatever you feel like brewing.
Quality is huge. It wasn't until 2012 and 2013 that the Texas statewide that laws started changing that allowed brew pubs to sell beer instead of like, hey, buy a tour and a glass and we'll give you a couple of beers. When you can cook, you can turn anything in your pantry into a delicious meal. And with brewing, if you're a brewer and have done some of your homework and are familiar with various styles, you can really tweak whatever you have to make something you want to drink.
When it comes to the craft beer lover, who is of course a big part of, you know, the type of clientele that we try to attract, the feedback is very positive. If we get somebody in who's, say, you know, accustomed to only domestic beer and all they've ever had is Budweiser and Bud Light, then they might take offense to our offerings, right? And be like, well, you don't have Bud Light, you don't have Dos Equis. That's okay. That's our opportunity to educate him on craft.
I know the brewer loves the moment he comes here and makes his beer, and know that every person that comes and buys a beer here is just like enjoying a little piece of him. The brewer is actually pretty involved in everything, from the making, obviously, the beer, to the canning, to the stickers around the can, the design in the stickers, like everything.
I think it's nice to make a connection with someone that created a product and interact with them. Why do you like it? Why you don't like it? I think really makes a big impact on the experience. But the best is if they, like, if you order another pint, that's the best compliment you could ever do. And that kind of just entails, like, I just want to be thought of as, oh yeah, you know, they brew great beer, and there's not much more you can ask beyond that.
I mean, we've heard about the fanciest French wines and the finest Scotch whiskeys. Well, now it is time. In America at large, craft beer is big, and this part of Texas craft beer is big, and it's not just real ale and live oak. If it has that made in Texas, go Texas, Texas brand, people like it. And it's really good that we do have that kind of community support. A lot of people come out here just because they were born in San Marcos or they went to school in San Marcos and they have lived there for 10 years and they are happy to see quality beer being made 6 miles that way, 4 miles that way, a right and 2 minutes up on that road, I think has driven people toward the craft beer scene more recently, more locally, in more recent years.
Salud and cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.